Greetings everyone and welcome to another week of BlastCast. I am Jarus and once again with me is my bastion of common sense, Lightning Dragon. Before we get into anything Star Citizen related, just a couple of quick notes. First of all, you probably noticed this video is out a little bit later than normal. Because of life circumstances, these videos may be coming out a little bit later on Tuesday, but I'm still shooting for Tuesday, but a consistent release at the same time may not always happen. Now, something kind of happened this week that was kind of interesting. It's not directly Star Citizen related, but it could be down the road. Of course, Wargaming kind of stepped in it this week. They did the same thing that Gaijin Entertainment did by basically threatening to copyright strike people that they don't agree with. It kind of happened with this.
You said mean things that we don't like.
Yeah.
Therefore, we're going to use a copyright strike on you, which has absolutely nothing to do with what you said or did.
Right, especially since they gave universal and public permission to everyone to forever use their footage without fear of copyright in a written statement. So they can't do that anyway because they've already given a worldwide, permission. So, but basically doing what game companies do when they make a decision like this, they doubled down on stupid and basically stuck to their guns and have now alienated many very popular YouTube streamers, including one of our favorite Jingles. And there was the whole debate started around a video posted by Sir Fox, or Fosh, or Fox?
Fosh, I think is how everyone
Sir Fosh, okay, it's odd spelling. But basically, yeah, this is the kind of thing we're seeing a little bit more of. And the reason we're bringing it up is that there's a lot of YouTube creators out there who are making Star Citizen content. And, like Lightning Dragon and I, we'll always talk about the good things in Star Citizen, but we also, of course, talk about the bad things in Star Citizen. And it's concerning to me because if game developers start doing this, I'm not accusing CIG of doing this. I just hope they pay attention to this kind of scenario and don't step into the same landmine. Because you should take the criticism, the good with the bad, and often the bad criticism, it kind of goes away if you just ignore it for the most part. Like what Sir Fox, or Fosh, I can never guess, whatever his name is. Sir Fosh. If what he said in this video would have faded away into obscurity, and no one would have known anything about it for the most part. It would have been a side note of a side note. But because of their desire to go ahead and directly attack somebody, they've turned it into a total debacle that would have been gone in 5 minutes. So just as far as this goes, developers take note. Just if you don't agree with something, let it go. And as far as copyright strikes go, just don't do it. Just don't do it. It is the bane of your existence. And
yeah, as soon as you talk about doing a copyright strike on someone, you have lost all credibility and all goodwill. It just evaporates.
Exactly. So anyway, all that aside, you can find that Jimquisition talked about it a bit, and of course, if you're into Mingles with Jingles, he had 2 episodes on today. The initial and of course the announcement that he'll be backing away as a community contributor and doing less and less World of Tanks footage and videos because of this situation. So their loss. Now, on the forums, there was actually kind of an interesting discussion that came up in Spectrum on the actual chat. It was some parts were with Matt Sherman, and some parts were actually with Calix Renault, and answered some very interesting questions about the differences between the Cutlass and, of course, the Freelancer, and how they got the differences therein, and why you may want one over the other. And I thought it was very enlightening. Now, let's get into some of the basic things they talked about with the Cutlass. Of course, they stated that the new Cutlass definitely has a lot more cargo than the old one, and all models, of course, will have the side doors functional on them. Now, the Cutlass Blue and Black aren't being set up for long-term living accommodations, and only one that would have a toilet sink setup would be the Red, and that's because as a medical transport, it's the one that has to have a semblance of hygiene in it. So if you're going to have nice stinky pirates, you're going to go for the Black and the Blue. The Freelancer, in comparison, has living accommodations that the Cutlass does not. Now, what this means is essentially that the Cutlass can have a pilot, a co-pilot, and I think 6 passengers. And it has 2 beds.
Plus a gunner.
The co-pilot, I assumed, would also just jump to the gunner seat. But basically, yeah, ideally 2 people to run the thing. And but basically 8 people in that ship. and 2 beds. Now the Freelancer, of course, is a ship that can also run with 2 people, but has 4 beds, so you can, ideally speaking, carry 4 people with you comfortably and have room for all 4. Now, why this is important to consider when it comes to the beds is that how these beds apparently are going to work is that if you're playing in the game and you log out, you just don't disappear after you log out of the bed. Your NPC stays in that bunk. No one else can use that bunk. So if you have, let's say you're in a Cutlass and you've got 4 people on your ship and the pilot needs to go, the owner needs to go, because there's players in his ship will remain persistent. He can log out in the bunk, but whoever's in that ship has got control of his ship, and he's really rolling the dice. You better trust the people you're with. So the same kind of thing goes with the Freelancer. If you had the 4 people, well, it's not a problem. Everyone could just log out right then, right there. And this is why I also hope we have multiple characters, because I'm already seeing the dynamics of this. If you want to play with your friends, you know, I'm going to get this character and I'm going to join you on this, and then you're quitting for the day, let me log into my solo character or something like that, because this is going to become a little difficult with people trying to run dedicated crews, you know. It's like, oh, we're all online, let's log into this ship that we were running so we can continue our mission. You know,
yeah, unless you stop at a base like, oh, well, I need to wrap it up soon.
Yeah.
And then you basically stop everything you're doing, take the ship back to a base, they get off on the base, and I guess rent a room for the day or something. And then you go back on your way if you're still going to play.
Yeah. And I think as far as this particular situation goes with the bunks, I don't think it counts if it's NPCs left on the ship. I think it's only related to other players.
I thought they said it was NPCs as well.
If it's NPCs, that's going to make it even more difficult to some extent.
Yeah, so if you decide to hire 1 or 2 NPCs and you only have, 2 beds and both the NPCs are like, I'm going to go to bed, then you're boned. You should have brought a different ship.
Yeah, definitely. So it's one of those things that why I kind of like these considerations is that when you're looking at purchasing a ship, pledging for the game, looking at your role in the verse, one of the things you need to consider is what you're going to be doing the extent of the time. Are you doing short operations? Then maybe the Cutlass is probably better for you. If this could be you and your friend, Cutlass is fine. If you think you're going to be flying with more than that in longer term operations, the Cutlass may not be for you. So they also said that the Freelancers aren't, while you can fit a Dragonfly in them, they're not particularly made for them. It just happened to be that they happen to fit for the demonstration, so that's why they use them. The Cutlass will have 2 dedicated slots, basically the way, almost to the extent like the way that landing pads work, that you can basically line things up. But I think what's going to happen is when you go select your ship, you're going to select in those slots, like I'm going to put a Dragonfly over here, and this side I'm going to leave empty for cargo, or 2 Dragonflies or whatever, and it treats it like a piece of equipment that's been added on. And from there it's locked down, and they're trying to apply this to all these different things. And there's something they talked about, just kind of briefly dabbling into around the verse, where basically they're trying to get the physics in the ships that go in ships to work more correctly, to not cause explosions, basically, where physics go wonky.
They'd have like a ship docking plate where you have like a cargo docking plate.
Right.
I'm assuming this is what I've said before, is they have to disable physics on the other ship, and that's what that plate would do, just like the cargo.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm thinking too. And in a sense, they can basically say it's magnetized to the hull, and they can just count the weight of the item towards the ship's mass overall, or however they want to distribute that. All right, and just another quick note here that Calyx had mentioned about the interaction sequence is that someone had asked about, they noticed that there was options to select that was actually past just, say, climb up the ladder or lower the ladder. He said that basically anytime you choose an action that is several steps down the line, it'll automatically go all the way through all the steps needed to get to that action. So your interaction system is pretty smart in the sense that it only takes it as far as you tell it to go. So if you just want to open the canopy, fine. If you just want to lower the ladder, fine. But if you go ahead and basically say start ship, it'll lower the ladder, open the canopy, run up the ladder, jump inside, start the ship. So it's going to be one of those things that it's going to you kind of set your end goal, and then the animations and stuff play through. Pretty cool. Now, of course, we did have the Aegis Eclipse sale, and we had the Aegis Eclipse Oopsie. This was kind of a funny one. It showed up on Reddit, and also was talked about on the Star Citizen forums. Basically, there was, when you bought an Eclipse, a $750 upgrade appeared for cross-chassis upgrade to an Idris M.
I believe there was also a cross-chassis upgrade for the Idris P, as well as the Javelin.
Yeah, so people were snatching them up. Now, CIG, it looks like, is going to be reviewing these and possibly reversing these charges and reversing these whole things back to the Eclipse, because
yeah, people got their accounts locked and their ships put on freeze, so they couldn't do anything with their account until it was sorted. So it really sounds like, well, I'm sure you guys, really wanted to get those large ships. It was not intended, and they're not just going to let you go, oh, well, our bad.
Yeah. Let's just get a half off an Idris, good gravy.
When you're trying to create an economy, it's obviously what they're doing. They have the way they're pricing things when they come out with limited ship sales, limited days. They're basically not saying, all right, anybody can buy any ship until beta or whatever. Then we're not going to sell ships. They don't want to have people go, oh well, I got this much extra money this month, I'm going to upgrade to this ship. Oh, I have this much extra money this month, I'm going to upgrade to this ship. So basically, eventually, everyone over the course of time is like everyone flies in with an Idris. They don't want to do that. So I agree with rolling it back, because that was not what they tried to sell, and it was clearly a bug in the system. Some people on the forums are like, no, they should get it, they paid for it, they found this bug, but it was a bug. It wasn't supposed to be that.
I have to honestly say, I feel a little hypocritical agreeing with that point, considering the fact that my first LTI ship was a Gladiator when they accidentally put LTI up for everybody.
Technically, my Retaliator
it's the same thing.
It was also a bug. I even got it for like $25 off.
Yeah, it was,
the price was wrong.
They put up
they owned up to that.
Yeah, they put up the early backers version LTI live a long time ago for like an hour, and I saw it and I called Lightning. I'm like, Lightning, LTI ship.
Yeah,
that was before
we didn't have anything like that. So it's kind of like, oh, sweet. So we went and got them, and then like the next day or whatever, they're like, oh, oops, we weren't supposed to do that, but because we didn't fix it like right away, we're gonna kind of grandfather clause this in. But they haven't done that in like year or two.
Yeah.
I bought the Retaliator back in like 2015.
Yeah, well, whenever Retaliator came out, to be honest with you, it was that event that changed their policy on LTI, I think, in the long run, because that kind of opened up this can of worms that eventually forced them to reconsider. So now I have all of my ships are LTI, with the exception of my package ship, which is a Freelancer Max. But basically, everything else over time through various swaps or whatever I had to do to get to where I wanted to go are covered. And I know LTI isn't supposed to be a big thing, but I feel that when you put real money into a ship, that you should at least have
some guarantee.
Yeah, you should have some guarantee that it's going to be there, even if it's just a base level. I don't care. To me, it's like to me it seems like I always thought that anyone who pledged money for anything in this game for a physical ship, I know you're pledging for the game, but I feel that your ship should just automatically be LTI because it's real money. That's the difference between that and the game.
You spent your money, you backed early. Here's a small little perk. And the thing is, from what they sound like, and I know we've covered this before, but we're going to just touch on it just briefly here, is that insurance is going to be a non-issue as far as like how much money you make in the game. You might play for 5 minutes and pay for all your insurance for all your ships, because they want to have that realistic thing in there to go like, oh, well, you blew up your Idris. Don't worry, it's insured, but we have to build one, or we have to go to the lot and get an extra one. So they have the time limitations. Like the larger your ship is, the harder it is to replace. But like the actual insurance money is probably not going to be very much. In Elite, it's like what, 5%. So if you have a $5 million ship, it's like 500,000.
Yeah, and it's 3% for people who are in the alpha and the beta, I think.
Yeah,
so I meant the 3%.
When you get really, really expensive ships, it's like, oh wow, I've got like 20 million in insurance, but I can make 20 million in like an hour of game time, so it's not really a big deal.
Yeah, it's one of those things that as I said, it's just more of a peace of mind than anything else. Well, it looks like something they talked about here. They're testing out the item system 2.0, and they're actually using the Origin M50 Interceptor as the test bed for a lot of the concepts. And it's because it's actually the simplest ship out there. That's right, it's even simpler than the Aurora, which I found to be interesting. But fairly accurate, because it's a pretty small ship. There's not a lot going on there. I'm glad I'm getting rid of it. No, I was kidding. No, I really want my Razor. That's what it basically comes down to. I have nothing against the M50. You've flown the M50. You love it. I think
the M50 was an amazing ship to fly. It was really smooth. It responded great. It was like, if this is what the flight model is going to be, then I'm all for it.
Yeah.
The only thing it was hard for is the accuracy, and that's on my stick's fault. But
and it's so small.
It's dual. I mean, my stick isn't the most accurate, but their flight model doesn't allow for, like, it's too precise, I guess. It's a weird word to say it. So it wants very highly accurate things, like, I don't know, a mouse.
Well, the thing is that the M50 is one of those ships that it's so small it dances between the raindrops, so it's easy to dodge enemy fire. So it's pretty cool. All right, and it looks like they're getting close to finishing up the engineering on the Persistence, so should not only count for player inventory, but also ships logging back into where you logged out, and also including things such as abandoned items, salvage, things like that will remain more persistent in the universe. That's fantastic. They showed some more updates on the Aurora, showing the new interior, and man, I tell you what, it looks a lot better. The Aurora is one of those ships that is just so important to get right, because it's going to be the entry vehicle for so many people. I really feel that the Aurora, if I had to choose between the Aurora and the Mustang, I think the Aurora is more useful.
It's the more versatile ship. It's the utility ship. It can do a little bit of combat, it can do a little bit of cargo, it can do a little bit of scanning. Where with the Mustang, it's much more focused on combat. Though there is exploration versions, which has an internal bed, so you can actually sleep in it. So you can, like, oh, well, I have to stop for the day, better crawl into the bed, which all the models of the Aurora have. But you have to buy the exploration variant of the Mustang to get that.
They really need to go back and work on the Mustang, because I had a Mustang for a short amount of time, the exploration model. And I remember that I couldn't get into it because I would go up the ladder, and then all sorts of hell would break loose. My character would clip to the walls and seem like I got thrown out of it.
Your character has to duck to stand in the pilot's area. But the easy way to do that is just kind of lower that entryway down so you can stand in there. So you'd have like a standing area. Then if you go back, you can stand. But when you get into the pilot seat, you go into animation mode where the chair turns around and you get in it. Chair spins back around. So you make that area like basically a non-walkable area. And then they could make the internal area a bit more cohesive, I guess. Yeah, chair unrails a little bit. Chair comes back to you, so to speak. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. But, definitely need to work on that ship next as far as starter ship goes, because if someone decides they want to play Star Citizen and they get the Mustang package, and the first thing they experience is getting quantum ejected through the hull of their ship into the black of space, that's going to be a little bit of dampener on the overall experience. All right, the tech art team was showing off their eye-changing color tech and how they're also making sure that the skin color matches uniformly across between the face and the body. A lot of times this looks like pretty basic stuff a lot of games do already, but honestly, when I look at these models, particularly the faces, I'm honestly really impressed. To me, you would actually be surprised how many games fail at matching like where your head and neck area is to the rest of your body. Oblivion. And hands, feet. Those are all usually separate models, and your main body is usually like a basic skin, basic clothing, and then you have like armor that goes over top of that. So the most important things are what you see: hands, feet, head. Yeah, and I remember the first time I played Oblivion. Basically, I originally had it on the Xbox 360. I know, don't hurt me. I didn't have a good computer back then. It was so bad on the console. Yeah, but you could see this line like around their neck where like the head would meet the body, and it was like they used the same body, they just stuck different heads on it. It always looks so weird to me. But yeah, this looks very smooth. On the head. Oh yeah, it's Frankenstein characters. All right, so now we're going to get into the big one. The lighting they showed. I know we've gone to lighting before a few times, but I just can't believe the level of detail. They show examples here of, before, and then like after lighting is turned on, before, then after. And it's just like back to when I was talking about a long time ago, how lighting sets the scene. Because everything looks so incredibly flat when you're seeing these befores and you see these afters. And what they're shooting for, according to the devs, is a 100% dynamic and 100% physically correct lighting system for the ships and the planets
The lighting is being actually driven by the atmosphere of the planet, not by the molecules, though. Because I mean, No Man's Sky's got that one. I mean, No Man's Sky.
Yeah, all the atoms and the molecules in the atmosphere are changing it, so you get a blue sky or a red sky or whatever kind of sky.
That was one of the biggest piles of crap I've ever heard a game developer say. Was that No Man's Sky?
It's not a skybox.
When they started showing off the fog, what if you've ever seen fog in most games, it's almost like the effect has always been opposite. When the light is off the fog, you end up with a light gray kind of effect instead of a deep shadow. And I've seen this a lot in games where it's always says, I get what you're doing here, but it doesn't look quite right. And they show some examples of that. You know, what you kind of have with a standard kind of old school fog system. And the new system that comes with Lumberyard that they've been working on, and actually incorporates voxel technology, really comes across as pitch perfect. They show this thing where basically they project the Star Citizen logo onto a little, basically a venting pipe, and how the light catches the steam coming out of that pipe as they move the steam back and forth, sweeping across it. Wow. I don't think I've ever seen that before in a game. I would expect to see that kind of effect, honestly, in a movie. I would not expect to see that in a game at this point in time. I know computers, I know technology has gotten better, you know, and every generation brings out a little bit better graphics, but that to me is a massive jump. That is huge. You know, and then they went ahead and dropped the bomb on us by showing us basically a recreation, for the most part, of the Nostromo scene from the original Aliens, but using Reclaimer. And the lighting there, I remember reading on the forum, someone said if you actually drop it down to like, what was it, 480 or 420, something like that? Maybe 420 something else. Anyway, so
420, baby, blaze it.
Well, with all the fog, that might actually be the case. So no, but basically you drop the resolution down on the video and you run it side by side next to the original footage from Alien when the Nostromo is on the planet, and it looks pretty much pitch perfect. Now that's impressive, because you know back then they're using real models, they're using real lights, they're using real fog. They're just
fog machine. Right,
exactly, to create it. And when you can put a game that's basically side by side, digitally recreating it in game to create the same effect, and a very, very smart, and I have to give them kudos for referring to the Nostromo again, because I think anyone who's looked at the Reclaimer just, I mean, you think Nostromo, and that to me is just wow. I've watched this scene over and over again, absolutely blown away by it, and I have to give them nothing but kudos on that. So see, we're not all negative Nancy's here. As I said, they're artists, they're programmers. The things that they do with Star Citizen are just amazing. Yeah, anyway, you may have noticed that there were some changes to this video. There were some changes to the title card, changes to, obviously, banners and things like that. Let me know what you think about these changes. I've trying to bring things up to date a little bit more, trying to go ahead and, I don't know, make the channel look a little bit more professional. As always, leave comments down below, and make sure to always tell Lightning how much you do actually like him. It is so important. No, but anyway, guys, thanks for listening. We will catch you next time on the what's that show called?
Around the Verse?
No.
I was thinking Around the Verse accent right there. I'm like, wait, this isn't Around the Verse.
See, it's so new, I haven't even gotten the name in my head. Citizens Corner, that's it. Good gravy. Man, I don't know my own show.
Citizens Corner? This is the BlastCast, isn't it?
I said next time on the Citizens Corner.
Time? Yeah. I'm so confused. It's been such a hot and miserable day.
Hence why we're shooting
everybody.
Bye.